Hello everyone, this is Monaro and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 9, entitled Battle of the Bastards. We're going to talk about Meereen, talk about the North, and wrap up at the end. So we first get to Meereen. We see a picture of the fireball that is being lit and being placed on a trebuchet and hurled across into Meereen. I thought the visuals on this was absolutely amazing. I love the way that this looks, the way that they were hurling the fireballs onto the pyramids. That shot of Dany looking over to see how what's taking place, and she tells Tyrion that she is going to burn everybody to dust. But I'm glad the way that Tyrion, reminds her, hey, you don't want to be like your father, you don't want to be the person that ends up destroying cities because you also destroy innocent people. And so he comes up with a plan, which she follows. And when they meet with the masters, they kind of tell her, oh, that her reign is over, that she's just a beggar queen and that they're going to return Missandei and Grey Worm back to being slaves and being sold. And then Dany tells them, look, my reign has just begun. And then we see Drogon come in. Look how huge he is next to her. And so she takes off on him and rides out to go and handle her business with with the Master's fleet. And then we get the shot of Viserion and Rhaegal, who come out of underneath the pyramids, and all three dragons are now taking flight and getting ready to go handle some business. I love the Dracarys moment that they have when they burn down that ship, and just destroy it. And but they don't burn everything down, of course, because then Dany is going to need those other ships in order to sail to Westeros. That shot, I mean, I love this shot. Absolutely great. And so while that is taking place, we go back to Tyrion and the Masters. And so he tells them, look, one of you has to die to pay for this uprising. And so the way that Grey Worm comes in with the smooth kill, and he leaves the one that they had shoved forward to die, and Tyrion comes up to him and essentially says, hey, you need to go back and you're going to tell the others what you saw here today, so that if anybody thinks about bringing slavery back into Meereen, they can think again, because Daenerys and her dragons are going to handle it. Then we get Yara and Theon who come back, who not come back, but get to Meereen and meet with Dany, and they have an agreement of sorts. She agrees to help them to take back their Iron Islands, so that Yara will um, become the queen of the Iron Islands, and but she needs to respect the Seven Kingdoms. No more reaving, no more looting. I thought that was great exchange. Then we get to the north at the parley, just and Sansa and Jon are meeting with Ramsay. I had to sneak in this little shot of Lyanna Mormont. I love her face. Look at her. And so they meet, and Jon and essentially tells Ramsay, hey, you and me could just duke this out one on one, and whoever wins, wins it all. But, Ramsay is smart. He knows he has the bigger army. So he says, nah, I'll just meet you out on the battlefield. So they go in and have their battle plan meeting. And after their battle plan meeting, Sansa's like, why didn't you ask me? I might have some insight. And when Jon does, she's like, I don't know. I just know you don't need to do what he's going to tell you to do. He's laying a trap for you. Just don't fall for it. Because Rickon is pretty much a lost cause. So after that, we get to see uh, Davos and Tormund have a great conversations about how they both thought that the men that they were following were going to lead them into some sort of victory, but they both ended up dying. But they concede that Jon is not a king. And then we get Davos finds the stag that he had gave to Meereen at the funeral pyre. Then we get, you know, Mel and Jon having a conversation and him telling her, look, don't bring me back if I die. But she's like, yo, it's not up to me. You don't get to choose. I don't follow you. I follow the Red God. And then we get to the next day where the two armies meet. We see Jon and his forces, and then we see the Bolton forces, and then, oh my goodness, Ramsay brings Rickon out and essentially tells him to run to Jon. Um, and we see the distance that Rickon has to run in order to get to Jon, and he's running, and then, oh my goodness, we all knew that it was going to happen, but Ramsay shoots him with an arrow and he dies, and that sets Jon off. And the one thing that he was not supposed to do, he ended up doing, and he charges straight forward. And after arrows are coming at him, he gets thrown off his horse. And when he stands up, he sees this cavalry coming at him, and he is just resigned to his fate, and he is making his stance. That is the most greatest shot I have ever seen. And as he is waiting for this cavalry to charge at him, his cavalry comes through, and there is a clash, and it is nothing but mayhem, carnage going on. Jon is just like slaying people. Ramsay just lets off like a volley of arrows into the fray, and it is killing both his men and the northern men, but he doesn't care. And we see Jon just knocking people off horses, slicing through this guy, killing this guy, dodging arrows. It is absolute carnage. Look at, I mean, the bodies are piling up. It was the most amazing sight I have ever seen. And then we see Davos coming in with the rest of the troops. We see the Umbers and the Karstark finally join in the fray. And then the Bolton armies come in and surround the northern armies in what they consider call a pincer move. And they are tightly packed in. And then we get the Karstarks and the Umbers who come in from over on the other side to catch them from the behind. And then Jon gets trampled, and he is like being smothered, but he finds his will and climbs out of that just to breathe. And it's almost like he is a new rebirth for him, but on his own terms. Then we get Tormund ripping the throat out of Small John Umber, and then the Vale army comes in, and like everybody have already said, it's like the Rohirrim from the Lord of the Rings. They come through. Then we see Littlefinger and Sansa at the top of the hill as the Arryn army is just cutting through the Bolton lines. And meanwhile, Jon climbs through those bodies. Do you see that determination on his face? Him, Tormund, and Wun take one look at Ramsay, and Ramsay knows that it is over and turns and runs right back into Winterfell. And just when he thought he was safe behind the walls of Winterfell, Wun busts in and finally collapses after all the injuries and the arrows that he has taken, and he is finally killed by Ramsay. And Jon picks up a Mormont shield and advances towards Ramsay as Ramsay is like shooting arrows at him, and then he just takes Ramsay and starts pummeling him with punches. And then it's finally when he sees Sansa that he stops, and then he gets up, and then he just walks off because it's Sansa's kill. Then finally the Bolton banners are just taken down, and then the dire wolf of Stark is once again flying on Winterfell. Then we get a shot of Davos, who's looking at Mel, who was looking at the banners. And then they bring Rickon in, and Jon tells them to bury him in the crypt. And then we get the final scene of Sansa and Ramsay. Ramsay telling her that, he'll always be a part of her, and Sansa telling him that he will disappear, his house will disappear, and everybody will disappear. And him telling him that the hounds will never hurt him. But she's like, yeah, but they're hungry, and you hadn't fed them in 7 days. And the Hound just go to town on Ramsay, and then she walks away smiling. So amazing episode, absolutely great. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Bye.